Hey guys, hit the floor 729 here. Just figured I'd do something a little special today. Um, Considering that I haven't really posted anything new on my channel over the last month or so, I figured I'd do something a little different while Four Swords Misadventures 9 is in development right now. So yeah, keep in mind, if let me just give you this heads up. If the episode is not ready by July, it'll be ready sometime this year. So be patient with this. In the meantime, let's have some fun with some old N64 games. First off, huge collection here. I actually have like 15, 17 games total, so here's a sec. Let's start off with these. First, Mario 64, of course, a classic. Who doesn't know Mario? This one's still a great game over, despite all the stuff that, all the new games overall. It's still one of the classics, one of the best, and very innovative for its time. Diddy Kong Racing, somewhat the rival of Mario Kart 64. Though in terms of gameplay, this one was more adventure based in comparison to Mario Kart 64, which was just arcade racing. Though Mario Kart 64, I think, was the superior game when it came to that and when it came to battle mode. So that's your opinion, but still, this one is a lot of fun to play. We have another one here. It's Star Fox 64. This is like one of my favorite games. I play this game to this day. It's still a lot of fun. It's non-linear, has probably 15 missions. The ending is probably one of my favorite endings in a video game, and it's a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it to this day, and it's still breathtaking. There's just no words that can describe how awesome this game is. Another one here that, well, I actually bought this one recently at an old game store. I actually got myself a copy of F-Zero X. Yeah, sorry about the little cover thing, I know. But it's still... This game is usually seen as like the black sheep of the series, but to be fair, its graphics... Well, it's gameplay over graphics. I mean, the gameplay was a lot of fun. They had to sacrifice a lot of polygons just so they could go at 60 frames per second, but the game is just non-stop adrenaline action. It's really a blast to play if you're a huge F-Zero fan. Then we have, let's see, some other games. I mean, I can't make this video without mentioning Ocarina of Time. Hell yeah. One of the best games ever made. Well, that's debatable, depending if you still, prefer Twilight Princess, or Majora's Mask, or maybe Wind Waker. That's your call. But still, this is one of the best games I've ever played. I know this game like the back of my hand. It's an amazing game, and I'm proud to have this game. I had it since '98. The funny thing is that this is actually the copy that I have that's the semi-controversial version, because it had Ganondorf's red blood, like in the end of the game, and it even had the strange mirror shield where it had that crescent moon and star, which is like similar to this Turkish flag. This was before it got re-edited, to a different symbol for the Gerudo, or Gerudo, however you want to call it. I prefer Gerudo with a soft G, but yeah, whatever. What else? Oh yeah, this one has the infamous Muslim music in the Fire Temple. Yeah, I didn't really see what the big deal was, but it's still Zelda, whatever. Still, I love the game. Even though I have I'm not sure if this is a rare copy of the ones that I have, but it's still a great part of my childhood. Pilotwings 64. I'm surprised there isn't much talk about Pilotwings these days. I mean, I did hear about a Pilotwings Ace. I think it was in the DS, right? I'm surprised they never really did like a version for Wii. Well, I don't really know, because I personally don't have a Wii myself. Yeah. You can joke all you want. I am planning to at least save up some money to actually get a Wii U maybe later. But still, this game is a lot of fun. Well, it had its graphical limitations at the time, but it was still very innovative. Maybe you could say this thing has its cult following too, but you could say it's very different in comparison to it's very different in comparison to the original Pilotwings, which one had like a mission mode at the end. But this one's just more like a lot more focused to the simulations in the gameplay. Wave Race 64. Pretty sweet racing game. A lot of fun. The mechanics in this one, what can I say? Oh, the wave mechanics in this game. The water mechanics were just amazing. They were really ahead of their time when they were doing this game. And the only disadvantage that this game actually has is that you can only choose 4 characters overall. They later expanded it in, I think, Wave Race Blue Storm. I don't know how many characters. But still, it was a fun game nonetheless. It's good to have around. And I played every once in a while, but not as much as I used to. Let's see, yeah, I'm a bit of a South Park fanboy as well. Yeah, I got myself this South Park video game a couple of years ago. Well, a little over like 13 years ago, actually. It was a birthday gift. You know, considering that I was a South Park fan, I decided to get myself a copy. The game itself, not one of the best. I mean, clearly it's just a first-person shooter with the 4 kids, and the story itself is just, well, let me put it this way: you'll like it for the humor, but it's basically Turok. The whole gameplay is Turok or GoldenEye, however you want to look at it. It's like that. Here we have a game that's never really mentioned much. Maybe it is mentioned. I have no clue. Bomberman 64. The game itself's adventure mode is very addicting, I can tell you that. Especially the 5 or 6 levels that they have, you know, surrounded like a huge map adventure mode. It's a huge step over the original ones, which were more puzzle based, and it was very unique at the time. NBA Hang Time. I'm glad they actually made a newer version for this game. Usually for like the Xbox Live Arcade, well, the PlayStation Network, or I think they made one for the Wii. I think they made it for the Wii too. I'm not really sure if they released it on the Wii, but the game is still it's hilariously fun. It's ridiculous arcade action at its finest. It's a classic. Surprised not many people enjoy it this day. I mean, everything in this generation of gaming, it's all first-person shooters. I mean, you just can't talk to a gamer without mentioning Call of Duty, and you know how that thing is. Okay, Cruis'n USA. Now this game, yeah, I played this a lot as a kid. I'll admit, it's not as advanced in comparison to other racing games like Gran Turismo or, let's say for example, Project Gotham or Need for Speed. It was just arcade action by Midway, but it's still fun. Well, all games are fun. Duh. Okay, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Now, of course, a lot of people kind of... I know people are still mixed over the whole Star Wars Episode 1 thing. Jar Jar Binks, of course, who doesn't hate him? But overall, this game had an interesting mechanic. I mean, there were a lot of characters to choose from, a lot of vehicles to choose from, and what made this game special was the whole customization concept that they made for each one of the game's pod racers. That's the word I was looking for. Each pod racer, of course, has like their own advantages and disadvantages, like speed, durability, resistance, all that. And every time when you win a race, of course, you earn a prize money, and that prize money, you can actually use the prize money for buying new parts. And that was a very innovative feature that, in my opinion, should at least... if I have an F-Zero? Well, you get the idea. In my opinion, that's the thing that F-Zero probably missed out. I mean, it wasn't... Granted, F-Zero, if they ever decide to revive it, they should at least have that mechanic of actually winning races and winning prize money to enhance vehicles. That would have been awesome. But that's just me rambling. Okay, here's another one. Might not be aware of this, but I'm also a bit of a wrestling fan, so WCW versus NWO World Tour. Graphic-wise, it's not very impressive, but when it came to gameplay, it's amazing. I mean, of course, this thing got surpassed by other wrestling games. Let's say, for example, No Mercy and WrestleMania 2000, WCW NWO Revenge. There was even one... Even in Japan, the game was much more superior because it was virtual pro wrestling, and it was a bigger roster, and there was just a lot of characters to choose from. But this one, nonetheless, it's still fun in terms of gameplay, though I personally prefer No Mercy. That's probably the best one. Another one I forgot to mention, Majora's Mask. A lot of people label this as the darkest and the saddest entry in all of the Zelda games, and I freaking believe it. This game is dark. The whole concept that revolves like you living in a new world, which is like this parallel world of Hyrule, being Termina, and you only have 3 days to solve everything that's going on. I mean, that game is just wow, and it just throws everything at you. And for a game that's supposedly for all audiences, it's very dark and very scary. Well, I wouldn't say Resident Evil scary, but kind of eerie at times. It makes you wonder all the stuff that's happening. Well, all the stuff that's happening like during the gameplay. Let's see, other games that I have here. These games are actually a little special, but in a different sense, because these games, I actually got them when I was in Europe, but this was like in 1998. First off, Turok. As you can see, it has like that 15 label. It doesn't have the ESRB rating. And here's another reason why it's a PAL. It's a PAL version, which means that, well, knowing how Nintendo is with the region locks, that's what they are. I mean, they're a little different in comparison to the original ones. Here's an American game. You can see the, like the edges here are a little different in comparison to the European ones. That was how the region locking back then. Well, what can I say about Turok? Well, it was a fun first-person shooter. It's a little... Well, the story is really... the story itself just doesn't make sense. You're a Native American that just fights dinosaurs. Weird story. Though it's an okayish game, I prefer GoldenEye, and I should have gotten a copy of that. Here's another one called, oh yeah, World Cup 98. Well, I'm not much into sports-related games, but here's World Cup 98. To be frank, this was actually a pretty good game. Very solid. Of course, this was like during the hype of 1998 France World Cup, and the gameplay is, oh, it's not very basic. I mean, anyone can pick up and play this game. On a curious note, I got something that hasn't really been discussed very much. It's, well, considered as like a converter pack of sorts. This thing. You may be wondering, what the hell is this? It's a converter pack. Maybe you could call it a transfer pack, but whatever. This thing is actually supposed to work in, let's say for example, if you're trying to play a European game in an American console, but you can't, right? Because of the whole region locking thing. Well, for it to work properly, you connect the European game on top, and you put an American game on the side, and that's how it works. And you insert it on the N64 like normal. Now keep in mind, in order for this to work, the American games have to be at least, let's say for example, they should be like either Mario 64 in terms of weight, in terms of megs, or it could be, let's say for example, this one, like WCW and WO. Because if it's like an extremely heavy game like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, it's not going to work. So it has to be a lighter game in order for this to actually work properly. On a curious note, when it does work, it does have its occasional glitches. That's the only issue, because there are times where the music kind of seems a little out of place, and sometimes it even erases the game's battery pack, which is very curious. It happened to me on a few occasions with Star Fox 64. So yeah. Well, that's pretty much all the collection that I have for N64. Now let's go the GameCube collection. Keep in mind, it's still in development right now. I mean, I don't have many, but I really want to get a huge collection. I mean, the GameCube is somewhat of an underrated console, in my opinion, and it has some great games. First off, Rogue Squadron. Me being a Star Wars fan, I mean, this game, not exactly a rail shooter, not like Star Fox, but this game was more open world. And, well, it had a lot of good gameplay mechanics, and the difficulty level of this one was pretty high. I can assure you that. Say, for example, we had like the Battle of Endor, the Battle for Hoth. We had several different missions here. Curiously enough, I actually played the original one on the N64, but this one is far superior. I haven't really played the third one though, Rebel Strike. This one? This is for all you Smash Brothers out there. Damn right. I can't really say anything about Smash Brothers except that my top tier is usually Link. It's a no-brainer, right? Resident Evil 4. I'm also a bit of a fanboy for Resident Evil. Though I don't know what to say about 5 and 6. 5, I've played it. I mean, it's still fun. I use that word a lot, I know. Resident Evil 6, a lot of people really criticize the control. I haven't played it myself. I should really try to figure out what the hell's wrong with that. Star Fox Adventures. Check this out. You know, funny story. I suckered myself into buying this game because it was a very Zelda type open world game, and it was it was open world like a typical Zelda game, and a lot of people consider this like the black sheep of the series. It's a fun. I have to stop using that word, but whatever. The game is interesting in a sense that it takes a different approach in Star Fox, but still it's a different approach. But I'm not saying that different is bad. Different is okay sometimes. But a lot of people kind of criticized it because of that. Because normally people want to see when they think Star Fox, they want to see Fox McCloud in an R-Wing, and he's in an R-Wing for like 10% of the game. Yeah. Oh, and don't get me started on the whole ending in this game. The ending in this one kind of like pissed me off, but whatever. And of course, Wind Waker. On a curious note, I actually chose to buy myself a GameCube like in 2005, but it was mainly so I could actually play Twilight Princess, and I did. But the thing is that I never actually got myself a copy of Twilight Princess. And ironically enough, I never even played Four Swords Adventures, despite the fact that I've actually made a series out of it. Yeah, my series is more based on the Game Boy Advance games. So anyway, Winker, I know how this game got an initial negative reception, but over the years it has gotten its loyal fan following, and I'm kind of surprised over it. And if you ever get a chance to actually getting this game in, if you ever get a chance of downloading this game in high definition, go check it out. Beautiful Joe. This game is, well, it's hilarious. That's all I can say. I mean, think of it as like a Power Ranger fanboy in a movie world, and the gameplay is just crazy. I don't really know what else to say about this game. I mean, I play it a lot. Difficulty, this one is pretty high too. Metroid Prime. Well, actually, there's a bit of a mishap with this one, because I got the cover of Metroid Prime here, and it's actually Metroid Prime 2. So it's a bit of a mishap when I went to a local game store, and it happens every now and then. But still, I played Metroid Prime 2, and it's a very difficult game too. The whole open world concept, to be honest, I wasn't like that huge, a huge fan of Metroid in a sense, but this game was actually a lot of fun to play. Though I had to criticize the boss levels being a little too puzzle oriented instead of just being a regular shoot 'em up game. But nonetheless, I recommend it. And of course, here we got Star Fox Assault. Now, in comparison to Star Fox 64, Star Fox Assault, I need to draw a lot of comparisons to both games. Let's say, for example, Star Fox 64, you had probably, 15 missions, 15 planets or areas to go to, and the missions were probably like around 5-10 minutes long. This one has like 10 missions, and it could range anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes per mission. I mean, they're pretty long overall. A lot of people kind of criticized the controls of this game, which were a little sloppy, and I began to understand why. But technically, there's something about this game that I still play it, but I don't think of it as a bad game. It's just unpolished. Say, for example, the on foot missions in this game. A lot of people really criticized. Personally, instead of being third person, it should have been more first person. It should have been a lot better that way. But they made a lot of other changes with the R-Wings and the Landmaster. Overall, it wasn't really a bad of a game. I mean, I actually like the story and the voice acting. But this game, probably one of the reasons why Star Fox really isn't that popular. Well, this one is Star Fox Command. I mean, I tried to play Command, just not used to the stylus control. I prefer. I'm more old school when it comes to that. So that's all the games that I currently have. So glad you tuned in. Hopefully, in the next couple of let's say weeks, maybe at the end of the month or maybe sometime next year, I'll have Forza Horizon Adventures 9 ready, and just tune in. All right, take care.